All right, well, let's go on to our best and worst of week 9. So, Chase, hit me with your best.
Yeah, my best are the Cowboys pass catchers. Let me explain here. So obviously, CeeDee Lamb had himself one heck of a game. If he could have had that touchdown at the Hail Mary, it would have been like the best game of wide receiver this season, right? He had 191. I think he had almost 10 or 11 catches. Then you look at everyone who had a good game this week, and CeeDee Lamb, and then next was Amari Cooper, who was a Cowboy pass catcher. Dalton Schultz was up there. Nico Collins was up there. It was just like you go down this list and it was like, wow, where are all these? Jake Ferguson had a really good game as their starting tight end. Luke Schoonmaker caught should have been a really big pass. He kind of got stopped short there on the goal line. Just like these Cowboys and Jerry Jones knows how to draft pass catchers, and they just move off of them real fast. Cedric Wilson kind of he was like one of the main targets in the early game in Germany that we haven't talked about yet. So it was just these Cowboys pass catchers. They just kind of grow them out there in Dallas, and then they ship them around the league to everyone that needs a pass catcher. So shout out to you Cowboys pass catchers that can, just ball out repeatedly.
No, I mean, I agree. CeeDee Lamb, whenever they feed CeeDee Lamb, they do well. I just don't know why they
Yes.
don't do it more often. They kind of grow
No.
away from it was I saw, yeah, because it was the Chargers game that I really noticed it where I was like, man, CeeDee's going, and they went away from him and it was like they weren't scoring. I was like, what are you doing? And then they went to him again like the fourth quarter and kind of put the game away. And I was like, what, what why were you not doing what was successful at the beginning?
Yeah.
Like, just keep doing it. But
That's Mike
I agree
McCarthy
with
for
you.
you.
I agree with you. They've obviously, in history too, they have some great wide receivers. So they definitely are good at that position. So I agree with you. My best, and now we'll get to Germany here, is the Chiefs' defense. What an incredible showing to not only have to travel to another country, but against the number one offense in everything, and to hold them. I mean, 14 points total, but 0 points at the half, zero third downs at the half, three for like 17 total in third downs, and to shut it out at the end when the game is on the line twice to shut them out. Haven't even scoring a touchdown, a defensive touchdown. They showed up. So not only were they keeping the Dolphins in check, keeping Tua, keeping Tyreek, keeping all these guys in check, but they were scoring touchdowns as well. Just an overall dominating performance. And it's just so weird as a Chiefs fan watching the defense be the one that is winning its games and not the offense. But sticking here with just the best, we'll get overall in general. But my best is the Chiefs defense. Just a phenomenal showing against the best statistically offense in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. I caught the highlights, didn't get to watch the game live, but I caught the highlights of it. Of course, they scored that kind of the game saving clinching touchdown. Really, it ended up being a 1-score game at the end there. But yeah, I'll never forgive the NFL for moving this game to Germany. Like, making those two offenses fly, because we all know, the defenses can travel, offenses don't. That's the old adage. And I'm not taking away any flowers from the Chiefs defense. They held that defense. They held that Miami offense, which has been a very high powered offense, very low. But I'd like to see that, where they don't have to fly, 24 hours and 4 different time zones to play a game of football. Like, come on, let Tyreek come home. Let us have this masterclass game that we should have had. Believe they kind of schedule makers, as good as they did us week 9. They kind of robbed us of that one.
Yeah, no, I agree. They needed to have like low cap. Like they need to look at the schedule and say like, okay, like let's just be honest with ourselves. These two teams when they play each other, probably not going to be one of those like good, like the classic games, like the must-watch games can't be overseas.
No.
Like they just can't, especially because it's obviously taking away from the actual hardcore fans. Like, could you imagine Arrowhead at that game? The Dolphins coming to Arrowhead, obviously with the Tyreek, all that stuff. That would just be a crazy game environment. Like you take that away, you rob the U.S. fans of that. But it's all about the money. Apparently, it was
Yeah.
that game was more viewed. That single game was more viewed than any of the games of the World Series this year. So basically, I mean, it's doing what the NFL wants it to do, and
Yeah.
that's to make money. So they're going to keep doing it. especially with the big matchup like that, bringing in the views and the money that it did. So unfortunately, I think we'll see some more kind of those more like a primetime matchup things probably take place overseas, unfortunately. But yeah, so just broader recapping that. So I have two things. One, I don't, I mean, I don't see how that Tyreek fumble for touchdown, how that was an incomplete pass. Like, I'll admit it. I don't think that was a completed pass in a
No.
fumble. I really don't. Like, I have no idea how that.
Yeah.
I can get why they called it initially on the field, but like after reviewing it, like I don't know how that stand. I really don't. Um, but I mean, I'm not going to complain. But like that's one of those things where it's like after all this stuff we've gone through, where it's like, what is a catch? Is this a catch? Is this a ball? And stuff like that. Like clearly to me wasn't a catch. Um, no football move was made. Like you never. Anyway,
Yeah. But
so
yeah, that's beside the point.
yeah. But obviously it worked out in my favor, so I'm not going to cry about it. But that was just kind of a confusing thing. But that was an electric play. They've lateral back, score a touchdown. That was super fun to watch. But we need to talk about the Dolphins. Their three losses have been against teams with winning records, and they haven't played well against these teams. It'd be one thing if they were kind of going toe to toe and they just kind of maybe lose, but their worst games statistically in every single category have been against these teams with winning records. This, I think we have enough of a sample size now to say really that the Dolphins, even though I still think they win their division, I think are absolute frauds. I don't think they're actual contenders.
Yeah. This is a intriguing one because normally that's what I would go with too, right? I liked, like the Titans when they got the one seed. What was it, 2021? 2020 they got the one seed. Everyone knew, hey, this team's not good, right? The Steelers in 2019 and they had the one seed, or maybe it was 2018. Juju's first year, they were winning. They were the last undefeated team. I think they went 11-0, and they're like, they're not good. For some reason, I'm holding on hope with these Dolphins. I don't know if it's just the other teams got the best of them three times, right? They played some, and the three teams with winning record. It's not like they're losing to the Saints who have a winning record. These are some of the best teams in the NFL. They played the Bills before the Bills meltdown on defense, right? That was kind of in midst of it, right? But they had a lot of their starters. Trey White went out late in that game. Matt Milano was still in that game. So they had a lot of the starters. It was before the Bills defense fell apart. They played the Eagles, who looked, really, really good in some of their games here late. And then they played the Chiefs, who were the reigning Super Bowl champions. So the thing, your sample size is three elite teams that are all running for playoff success. I think it would be very hard it would be easier to say that if they were beaten, they lost to the Saints and maybe the Bucks, who have winning records but not really good teams, right? So I don't
So
know. I'm going to hold off a little bit more until I call them frauds.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, if you look at their schedule, they only have three more games as of right now, right? Only three
Yeah.
more games left against teams with the winning record. They've got Dallas, Baltimore, um, and Buffalo. They have the Jets twice still, so Jets are even 500. They got the Jets twice still, and they have the Raiders, the Commanders, and the Titans. So, I mean, they should be able to dominate the Raiders. I imagine they'll be able to beat the Jets just because the Jets
Defense is good though.
offensively just aren't there. I mean, they're good, but I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll find out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But the Commanders and Titans, I don't think will be a problem. But they got Dallas, they got Ravens, they got Buffalo again. The Buffalo already smashed them. That's going to be the last game of the regular season. So we'll see kind of where the Bills are at that point. But yeah, but it's yeah, so it's tough, and we got to talk about. I know you didn't watch the game, but you saw the highlights. Did they show on the highlights the last two throws that Tua had?
No, I didn't see. I think I might have seen one of them that was just like, was it?
So
I seen a deep ball to Waddle that was just like completely
a duck.
uncatchable. Yeah.
Yeah. So his last two. So it was like a minute left, like third down and 10. Like you have to get. They need a touchdown, right, to survive, right. So at this point, right, they need to get first down. So it's third down and 10. He just throws it up, and it's just like a lame duck. Like it's not really to anybody. Just kind of falls down. Done. Okay. Fourth down and 10. Do or die, right? We need the first down. Game over. And he muffs the snap.
All right, I did see that. Yeah.
And he has to run into and game over. And it's like, man, like you had the opportunity to go out and do it and you choke like that. So I've as much as I've enjoyed watching Tua play, like whenever there's a moment like that, I kind of lose confidence in him. So we'll see if if he loses confidence in himself or kind of what happens there. But in those do or die moments, he just hasn't been able to put it together so far this season. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward. But as much as I think the Dolphins will still win their division, I just I'm not expecting big things from them. I'm not expecting big things because eventually they're going to have to go and play again these teams that are winning. They're going to have to play the
Yes.
Bengals. They're going to have to play the Chiefs. They're going to have to play. They're going to have to play these teams again, right? So if they can't do it now, I just don't see how they're going to be able to do it on the road in a playoff environment. And so it's going to be tough. But
Yeah.
enough
No, I agree.
enough about that. It was a long best. Let's go ahead and get to the worst. Chase, give me your worst for this week.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it in the league news, but my worst is the Cardinals front office, right? They just repeatedly do dumb things. It started with, the D Hop. They cut him. They brought in Marquise Brown. They got rid of that front office. They brought in a new front office. It was supposed to be great, right? And then they are activating Kyler Murray, which I'm pumped for as a Kyler Murray fan. We already talked about was the wrong move. And then they traded Josh Dobbs, who looked, really good on the Vikings, right? He looked really good on the Cardinals, right? He was doing everything you wanted to, keeping it competitive, keeping you, showing off some of your talent, but not winning the games, right? Again, you want that number one pick. That's what bad teams want, is that number one overall pick. So I'm not really sure what they're doing, right? They're kind of like in no man's land, just kind of floating with the wind, right? And that's not a good place to be when you're an NFL team. So that is my worst. They just got blown out. They've lost a lot. They have that one win against the Cowboys, who didn't come to play at all. So just a pitiful team this year, and pitiful front office, I believe.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm with you. I think I don't. I see the Joshua Dobbs trade as different than you, though. I think they did that knowing that Kyler was coming back. I don't think they do that if Kyler's not coming back, but they do it to. They didn't need him anymore. Try to get some. I know it wasn't a lot, but just get some draft capital, for him. Leave out because Kyler Murray's coming back, right? So they had to go one game without it, in the interim with tuning, and then Kyler Murray's coming back. So I think I don't have a problem with that trade.
I understand.
Because I think it was with the actual purpose. And so, and it's not like Joshua Dobbs was winning you any games either.
No.
So it's not like, if they were 5-3, I don't think they do that.
No.
But because they're like 1-20, they go ahead and do it because they get Kyler Murray back. And so just to kind of get some draft capital, clear up roster room, right? They don't need him anymore. And so to give him opportunity to go and play somewhere else, which I think is good, right? They said, listen, we're not going to use you anymore. Our guy's coming back. Let's go ahead, go get a chance, do something with the Vikings, which he did, which moves me to my worst. My worst, which is a Joshua Dobbs best, is actually the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, your team, your team of the year, the Atlanta Falcons are stumbling, and they are stumbling bad. They've got two bad losses back to back, and I have serious questions about Arthur Smith's capabilities as a head coach in the National Football League. As much as we want to tout his offensive schemes and things like that, he has a history of not using his most talented players, right? It's been, what has he been doing with Kyle Pitts this entire time? You take him at number 4 and he just doesn't see the light of day. You spend your number 7 pick on Bijan Robinson. He gets like 4 or 5 touches the entire game. You get on the goal line, first and goal. None of those goal line touches go to Bijan Robinson. You don't score a touchdown. You're not using it. And you come out and say, well, some of the times when we need him is actually when he's not carrying the ball. And it's like, bro, what? You don't use your, if you need to use it once or twice as a decoy, obviously I get it, right? There's times when, the Chiefs use Kelsey as a decoy. There's times where the Raiders, would use, or the Packers would use Adams as a decoy, or something like to get somebody else open for like a play, like a must-have first down, like a must-see touchdown. Like, I get it. But you're going to go the entire game using your best player as a decoy? That's just stupid.
Yeah.
You come out flat like the previous year. You let a first-time NFL rookie dominate you offensively and Will Levis the week before. And then you come in and you let Joshua Dobbs, who's been on the team for 5 minutes, didn't even know the plays. The coach is literally having to explain the plays in the headset, like this is what you do. Didn't even take a snap with the lineman. None of that. Come in and dominate and beat you. That is despicable. Like if Arthur Smith is gone after this year, and if they don't fire him, then the Falcons are just accepting failure for the long term. You don't have the quarterback. Your offensive minded coach is not and has not been using the best players on the field as part of the scheme to be successful, which is in turn hurting the quarterback, hurting your offense, and then you're just losing games that you have no business in losing. And it's just at the point where, like, yes, like you didn't get blown out by any means. Like you still, put up 20 points and stuff like that. But you let Joshua Dobbs come in and do that to you. Just an embarrassing loss. That's two embarrassing losses in a row. When you look at what their schedule is coming up, right? They've messed around and they've been competitive and things like that. But when you look at what they have coming up, obviously they get a get right game against the Cardinals. I think they could win that. Actually, I don't know. Kyler Murray's coming back now, so now I'm questioning that game. They still have to play the Saints twice. The Colts aren't a pushover. They're not going to do it. I even think the Panthers, by the time they play them again, will be better than when they open up the season against them. They also got the Jets and the Bucks coming into it. So a lot of questionable things there with the Falcons. I hate what I'm seeing from Arthur Smith and the Falcons. They're proving me right lately with my expectations of them. We'll see what happens as they move forward, but they're going to have to make changes. They're going to have to put the ball in their best players' hands. Like we've seen the dominant catches and the plays that Bijan has already made this year. And by willingly like taking the ball out of his hands is just malpractice and you deserve to be fired. I'm not one to call in here and say you should be fired, but you should be fired.
Yeah. Yeah. I am just, I was blown away when they, first of all, kudos to Josh Dobbs leading that game-winning drive. He had like a minute 43 left or something like that. Goes down the field, kind of does what he wants. Get out of that big third down sack and rushes for like that 15-yard first down. That was huge. That would have been the game if that was Kirk Cousins, right? Kirk Cousins not mobile enough to get out of that sack. None of his wide receivers really they had separation. They just couldn't see him. But so shout out Josh Dobbs for that. But yeah, when I picked the Falcons, I was looking about the talent on the field, and they've kind of proved it. Desmond Ritter's really let me down. I didn't have really high hopes for him, but even the hopes I did have, he hasn't reached. What I didn't account for was Arthur Smith completely hating all of the talent that he has invested in. Like you said, this is, I looked at the team on the field. I seen this. I'm like, hey, this team's fun. They're good. They're young. This is an easy division to go up and win. And it should have been. Like, you shouldn't have lost. First of all, you shouldn't have lost to the Texans. You shouldn't have lost to the Commanders, and you shouldn't have lost to the Vikings here without Kirk Cousins. Like, this is just three pitiful losses, really, not in a row. I know they won one before the Commanders game, but it was just, I'm just like, what are they doing, right? Yeah. I don't know. I'm slowly losing faith. It
You were doing that
hurts
victory
me.
lap in week 2, bro. You were doing
Listen,
that victory lap.
they look good. They were using their players. Kyle Pitts had it good. Bijan had it good. And then all of a sudden, that was just I think Arthur Smith listened here and was like, "Hey, listen to that guy in Iowa. Watch what I can do to him." So, I mean, yeah, I don't have any problem with that. As much as I like the Falcons, I think I'm still going to rock with them for one more week, see how that goes. But I believe Arthur Smith is the reason they're failing. Obviously, quarterback doesn't help. Taylor Heineke's nothing special. Desmond Ridder really is bad. It was really, honestly, turnover prone. You can't have a turnover prone quarterback. But I think they could have overcame that if Arthur Smith would have allowed them to overcome that. So I agree with everything you said. Arthur Smith is a guy that I really believed in, right? He had that great year at Derrick Henry where he put the ball in Derrick Henry's hands more than, I think Derrick Henry rushed for like the second most attempts of any running back ever the year that they wanted him to win MVP, right? And then Arthur Smith did that and then said, never again, right? We're never doing that again. Never getting our stars the ball. So, yeah, pitiful performance for the Falcons there.
Yep. Well, it wraps up best and worst. Let us know in the comments your best and your worst of week 9 of the NFL season.